All right. Let me go on our YouTube channel. Turn. All right, we are live.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hi, guys. We are back.
We're back.
Yes. Hold on. When I get upset, I eat. So excuse me.
Girl, come on now.
Y'all listen, the devil is busy, yo. That's why we gotta stay even busier. All right, let me just pull you guys up. Give me 1 second, Tawanta. I'm just gonna pull everyone up just to make sure that we are streaming. My daughter says, "Mom, are you screaming today?" I'm like, "What?
Aww.
Are you screaming today?" I'm like, "You mean streaming?" She's like, "Yeah."
It's so cool.
All right, Therese just confirmed that there's no echo. So listen, everyone. That was in fact a StreamYard issue. So I truly apologize on behalf of the show because that was the issue going on my end. Tawanta's sound was perfectly fine. So we're gonna do this on Zoom. This is why I keep my Zoom account active. So when one platform want to act up, I just do a little bit of a switcheroo, right? So hey guys, how y'all doing? All right, so Tawanta, let's reset here. If you can kick off the show and let everybody know what we're discussing, and I'm going to resend out the email again, so those who was using the last link can now know that we're over here on Zoom. All right, go ahead, sis.
Yeah, so like I was saying before, we decided to come on here to really just have, basically it's an impromptu show, because, we've been MIA for about a good 3 weeks now, if not just a month, actually. It's been a month.
Yeah, it's about a month, yeah.
Yeah, it's a month. And it started with me on my end, and it kept on going and going and going. And Lord have mercy, it has been a doozy.
Right.
So, I was just, letting Letitia know. I said, I would like to do an impromptu show called Life Detours and all of that good stuff. And she said that would be awesome.
Right.
Because it'd be great just to share our experiences, but also find a remedy or find a solution as to how to deal with the chaos that goes on in our life, especially those moments where it's beyond your control.
Right.
And, dealing with death and dealing with family drama and dealing with financial issues and all kinds of setbacks and stuff, it can really do something to your psyche. It can really do something to your temperament, and especially when you're dealing with family.
Oh, amen. Amen.
So, and I know we're not the only ones that has experienced that are currently still dealing with the aftermath of a tragedy or issue or traumatic experience that has happened in your life, and you're still trying to survive after all you experience. So yeah, we want to talk tonight about, how to move forward in a chaotic life. What are the remedies? What is the solution? What is the medicine, if you will,
right.
To keep us going and not to dwell and ponder on noise, and
right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right, right. And it's so interesting, Tawanta, that, you and I were both going through similar things these past month and a half, but in different cases, but both very much so similar because it was both of us dealing with family, and how we're going to break this down for you guys tonight is we're going to talk about what's been going on with us for the past month and a half, how we're getting back into the groove of things, back into the momentum, because momentum never goes away. I want to say that real quick, right, Tawanta? Right. Momentum never goes away. If you lost it, if you backslide, if you fell off, you can always get that back. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like when people say, okay, I stopped and I'm never going to restart again. No, you could just, do the same things that got you started, but make sure you change your habits to keep you in it. Now, for us, Tawanta and I us not doing the show for about a month and a half had nothing to do with us lack of interest or giving up. We're always going to do the show. Really was just about a lot of things have gone on in our lives, mainly on a personal level, right?
Right.
So we're going to talk about that. How do we get back? And then, Tawanta has something amazing to share, something that we all need to definitely look into and consider, because this is something that has hit her and her family strong. But also, like what Tawanta is going to, put in her perspective on her takeaway, and I'm going to put in my perspective on my takeaway as well. So, Tawanta, would you like to get started on what's been transpiring with you in your life since May? Sure, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, like I said, I have dealt with a tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. It started about over 3 weeks ago. And that was my brother-in-law. He died of cardiac arrest. And, of course, that was devastating and shocking to everybody because it was unexpected. Of course, he was home when this happened with his family. And, and he's in New Jersey at that time. So, we talked with the doctors and everything. And of course, the hospitals are still going through the pandemic procedures where, not everybody can come in, this, that, or whatever. Only a limited amount of people can come. And thankfully, my brother-in-law's longtime girlfriend was there every step of the way. We were able to see him, through Facebook Live, through one of my niece-in-law's phone. So my husband was able to see him that way, and to see him pass away, because he was on the scene. And, we were en route. We drove to New Jersey from Michigan, New Jersey. It take about a good 9-hour drive to get there. And so we got there. The funeral was on that Friday. That viewing was that Friday. And prior to that, the night before, I found out that my aunt was in the hospital, and I didn't know. My cousin, her son had, who's active on Facebook, had posted to pray for his mom because, she was just getting out of the hospital. And I was shocked to find that. I was like, what? Because I just...
Isn't that crazy? I'm sorry for cutting you off, but isn't that crazy that we find out what's going on with family through Facebook?
Yeah.
Like, nobody gets up and pick up the phone. Like, what's up with that, right?
That's the truth. Right? That is the truth.
Yeah.
And I was like really shocked because the thing is, I spoke to my aunt maybe the week that my brother-in-law passed, because she knew him, So and my aunt was very, very, very secretive, meaning that she knew, she was sick. She was very, very sick, but she didn't let anybody know. If you heard the sound of her voice, she sounded just as nice and sweet and all that good stuff. But then, like I said, that night before, I found out that she was home and all of those things. Then that day of my brother-in-law's funeral, my cousin came and told me she was back in the hospital again. And so I was like, wow, really? I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and call, find out what's going on. And I sent messages to my cousins to find out what was going on. And I went on Facebook, and immediately on the news feed, my other cousin posted that my dear beloved mother had passed away. And I dropped the phone and just ran out the church. I was just totally shocked. I could not believe that my Aunt Betty passed away. It was like my mom, my second mother, and so that was devastating. And then that Saturday, the next day, we decided to host like a family gathering in our suite when my husband had got a catering service and all that stuff. And we was having a great time. And during that time, we found out that my sister-in-law, she went to the hospital, but it was for non-emergency reasons. We knew that she was really, not her best. She was going through depression. She was really bad off in a lot of areas in her life and all that good stuff. She has a disabled son who was fully grown and everything. And, so both of them was not able to care for each other or what have you. Right. So when we found out that she was going to the hospital that Saturday morning, we were like, okay, great. She's finally making that move to start getting better, all that good stuff. But later on, we got a call. My husband wasn't even going to pick up that phone, but he picked up his phone, answered it, and it was the hospital that she was in. And they said that she had fell into cardiac arrest. and that she had requested a DNR. And that at the time, my husband and her did talk, and she did want him to be power of attorney over her and her son. And, he said, no problem. So they called him, and, they saw his name or what have you. They called him, whatever, and they wanted to know, well, what do you want us to resuscitate her or do? He said, do what you have to do to keep her alive, because she is not mentally there. This is like suicide for her, and
Wow.
so they did that. It took about 10 minutes to get her back, and they called back, and they hit us with another bomb that found out that she had cancer, stage 4, and that it got so bad that it pretty much spread all over her body and everything and whatnot. She didn't share that with anybody at the time and stuff. So everybody was totally shocked, devastated. The party we had ceased at that moment. Everybody pretty much just went away, because it was just totally unexpected. And so I'm grieving. We're still grieving of my brother-in-law, and I'm grieving on my aunt at the same time. And then now I'm trying to be the caregiver and that support system for my husband, as well as for my immediate family member there and whatnot. So of course we drove back here to Michigan. 2 days later, I flew to South Carolina for my aunt's funeral, stayed there for a week. My sister-in-law was still in the hospital. She didn't pass yet. Came back home, and that's when I had that moment to really digress a little bit and grieve, because I didn't get a chance to. I didn't get a chance to grieve or anything, because everything was just happening back to back to back. Then maybe two days later, we got the call that my sister-in-law passed away. And then that means we had to go back to New Jersey again. We drove again. We drove to Pennsylvania, got to Pennsylvania. That's where she lived. My husband took care of some business there. Then from there, we went to Jersey and took care of that, the funeral service there and all of that. So everything was going on within a week apart from each other. And learning so much about family's temperament, learning different secrets. Oh my God, found out some secrets. That was just it just knocked me out a little bit. And then just dealing with the business of it, as far as the funeral, dealing with the money issues and everything.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. It just was one thing after the other.
It's compounding. Yeah.
It was very much so. And, and then of course we drive back home, and I mean, it's been over a week since we've been home. It's like layers of what I've been experiencing is just still coming off of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm still trying to get back to normal in my mind. You know what I mean? And not to, it's just been so heavy. It's really, really been heavy. But what I tried to do while I was away, because honestly, I'll be honest, I didn't even want to go to my sister-in-law funeral. I did not want to deal with another funeral. I did not want to deal with another casket. I didn't want to deal with any more funeral business. I didn't want to deal with family. I didn't want to do nothing. But I knew that I had to be there, not so much for me personally, but because of, my ministry or what have you, to be of support to other people and whatnot. So I just put my personal drama to the side and just focus on being there for my husband, because he lost 2 siblings in a matter of weeks apart. Versus me losing my aunt, and it's devastating, very, very devastating, So again, like I said, I'm still just trying to digress and try to get it together at this point. But it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm glad I'm home. I'm glad I'm here.
Yes. And I'm glad you're back too. And Mavana just mentioned, she said, hello, ladies, please, everyone. Oh, sorry. No, that was me. Mavana said that she missed us. She said in the comments that she really missed us. We missed you guys too. And I have to thank you guys so much, because while everything was going on, while, Tawanta was going through her thing and I was going through my thing at the time, I sort of forgot to turn off the notifications that the show is, you know, when we have our shows, and you guys will inbox us and say, hey, is there a show tonight? What's going on? Are you guys still gonna go live? And it was, you know, sometimes when, you know, you're doing something and you've been doing something for so long, and sort of you have those personal things that come up, you sort of just focus on that and you just
Right.
forget about everything else. And that's sort of what happened. So I want to first apologize, because I should have absolutely just hit, you know, delete it from the calendar and delete it from the email automation, because once we schedule emails, we do it a month in advance, or at least 2 weeks in advance. So that way we don't have to worry about rushing. And, you know, even the email for this show was done in advance, but, you know, we had to switch, you know, from StreamYard to Zoom. So we sent out another email so you guys can know. But I really appreciate you, you know, Tawanta, for sharing that, because that is so much important. You know, last year, a lot of us have dealt with death. A lot of us have dealt with sickness, and nobody really talks about what's going on behind the scenes with family, with your own mental health. I mean, there's so many different layers to it. So I'm really glad that you share it. And I'm really excited about hearing what you have to share later on about the whole funeral process, and what your experiences has been with that, and, you know, helping the audience, you know, in case it does happen, which we're all going to pass away one day, but when that does happen, that we are all fully prepared, right?
Yeah.
So segueing to my, you know, overall reasoning for not doing the show for a month and a half. For one, I never want to do the show without Tawanta. That's number one. Okay. So no, I'm never gonna, you know, Tawanta and I, we're a team. We are a force to be reckoned with. Yes, there would never be any other than us. So respectfully, to honor, you know, Tawanta in what she was going through, you know, with her family, with the grieving process, I decided to bring the community together, the sister to sister connection community, and let you guys know, like, hey, and, you know, those of you who are my clients, I've been definitely telling you guys that, you know, Tawanta is going through a loss, and we're going to get back on the show. But even when Tawanta was back and ready to go with the show, which was about like 2 weeks ago, I was, you know, just entering the middle part of what I was going through. So I moved. If you guys don't notice, my background is different. I definitely moved, and I'm so happy about it. And I'm not going to go into too many details, but Tawanta knows, because her and I spoke 2 days ago about it, or last night. But if you guys been checking out my social media, I've been posting a lot about toxicity and getting rid of toxic people out of your life, and out of your environment, and things like that. And I don't care who it is. You know, I had to remove now 3 toxic people from my life in the past couple of weeks. You know, I finalized it on, I think it was Monday, to where these 3 individuals, yes, they're family members, all 3 of them are family, and I removed them from my life. I blocked them as no contact. And, you know, it's something that I had to do for my mental health. I had to do it for my peace of mind. You know, one thing I've asked God for, you know, for this 3rd quarter of this year is like, God, please help me to have peace, to create peace. You know what I mean? To create more peace in my life, because my personality is, I can't deal with a lot of stress. I can't deal with a lot of all the drama and the toxicity that other people will bring into my life. So these individuals have been, 2 of them mainly have been extremely toxic for the past few years. And, you know, it was a hard decision. No, let me stop. It wasn't a hard decision. I'm not going to sit up here and say that. It was a decision that had to happen. Okay. And when people say, well, you could just get rid of people just like that. No, it's a process. It was a month-long process that I had to go through to literally make sure that these people and these individuals won't have any, you know, way of getting it back in my life again. And you know, that's what happened, you know. So that's why I've been posting a lot of that on my social media, because I know a lot of you guys who are tuning in and watching, because of the things that has gone on with the pandemic and the way the world has, it sort of like gives other people excuses to act the way they act or conduct themselves the way they feel that they want to conduct themselves. And people like me who gives multiple chances over chances,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's very stressful to deal with the toxicity of it all. So like I said, we've moved into a new location. I love it. I'm excited about it. This is another temporary space, I say, because I always say God has something bigger in mind for us. But to be totally honest, it has brought like my husband and I more peace. Yes, we still have our little issues here and there, but it sort of has brought us a little bit more peace. So that's because that was another stress. That was one stress that I didn't have to bring into the relationship, into the marriage anymore. Right. And one thing I forgot to mention to you the other day, Tawanta, is that even my children was happy. Like when I told them what was going on and what was going down, they was like, yeah, I'm happy that we don't have to go over there. We don't have to deal with that. And we don't have to have this person come over anymore because, they're always moody. They're always snapping at me. And I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
a lot of times our kids are afraid to come open to us until we say, you know what, let me just remove myself out of the situation.
Yeah.
Teresa said, I lost one of my god brothers on May 24th. Yes, I remember.
I remember. Yeah, I
A
remember
couple of
that.
hours after talking to him and 5 months after losing another god brother. That is like
Yeah.
so hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know too, for you, you're still, grieving through
Mm-hmm.
that process. So, grieving comes in different ways, guys. It comes in death. It comes in you saying, comes in divorce. It comes in, separating yourself from toxic individuals. I mean, it comes from all those things. And I know that what I went through these past few months and even these past few years, I know it can be a lesson and testimonial for somebody else, right? So let's jump into now. What was the second half of this conversation, Tawanta? We're going to talk about like what was how we're getting, getting back into the game, right? How we're getting back into the game. Where we're going to keep doing the show. I mean, we're going to, I know Tawanta and I were talking was yesterday and a little bit today about making some minor adjustments, but that's about it. But we're going to go right back to doing the show. Before we move on to the next phase, Tawanta, would you like to share the next three topics that we're going to be discussing on the show?
Yeah, let me find it very, very
Yes.
quickly. Yeah, we have already, like I said, like she said, we have been talking behind the scenes. We are definitely back in the game. Of course, I didn't even realize that this weekend is 4th of July weekend.
Yes, it is.
The time is going so fast, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm still trying to get back on the swing of things.
Yes.
So I know, and I realized too, Letitia, that now that a lot of people have been vaccinated and everything, that now they can actually start being with their loved ones again.
Yes. Yes. Very
They could
true.
travel and spend that traditional time with them. 4th of July is very special for a lot of family
It's going to
members
be
now.
huge this year. I really know
I
it,
think so. Yeah, it's going to
I mean,
absolutely be
we're
huge.
still planning something small because my husband and I are vaccinated. But we're still not going to have like a bunch of people over and stuff,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I know that this is going to be a very special season, a special holiday, and all those great things. So we're definitely I'm going to come back after that holiday is done. And so for the month of July, we are going to be talking about summer madness.
Yes.
Summer madness. Well, we had our meeting last night and it just started flowing. All these different ideas just flowing in my head.
Yes.
And I call it that because this summer has messed with my challenge, I would say, my emotions where like when we go on those amusement parks and we go all these different rides, and the roller coasters is one of those rides that a lot of people fear to go on, and because they got all these different crazy turns and stuff like that, and it's just so it messes with your mind and your everything. So in a way, that's how my emotions were during this past month. And I feel that a lot of people are mad emotionally and mentally because there's still a lot of issues that has yet been resolved. You
Yeah.
know, even though we're moving forward in a sense and starting to be with our loved ones, but yet people are still dealing with, you know, financial burden, dealing with, you know, loss of jobs, still not finding jobs. And you know what I'm saying? So there's a whole lot of stuff that, you know, we definitely need to bring forth to the table and talk about how it is impacting our lives during this summer season.
And the trauma of just being enclosed in inside for so long, you
Yeah.
know. And I know that a lot of relationships and friendships and family ships, including mine, had to face certain issues. It's like it was no getting away from it. You had to face it. So now is that trauma. It's like now we're stepping into the light for being in darkness for so long. So
Yeah. So that would be July 10th. That's on a Saturday. So that will be July 10th.
Right.
And of course, Letitia and her team are going to definitely let you guys know
Yep,
ahead
we
of
will let
time.
y'all know.
Yep. And we come on that Wednesday, you know, to talk briefly about the topic and what to expect and all that good stuff. So you guys will be fully aware, be prepared for it. So that following Saturday, we're going to talk about too hot to handle. Too hot to handle. And what I meant by that is, you know, there are some, like just like Letitia was just talking about, the toxic conversations and family members and all the other issues that we deal with. Sometimes it becomes too heavy and
Yes, it
becomes
does.
it becomes such a heavy burden, or it gets so overheated. The arguments become so much. It's too much to handle.
Yeah.
You know,
Then
and
people hold on to grudges. They can't move
yes,
past certain things. And it's too much. It's too
it is too
much.
much. It is too much. And I know, like, there are a lot of people around this world that are dealing with a lot of heavy burdens, and
Right.
yet we still can't figure out how to release it, how to let go of it, you know, how to handle it
Right.
in a
Right.
way that it won't continue to eat us from the inside out and
Right.
destroy us, you know, because it eventually can become a disease.
Right.
So, you know, we're going to talk more in depth about that, and that's going to be on the 17th of July. And the next one is going to be Death Has No Survivors. Death has no survivors. And so what I meant by that is that, you know, when we deal with death of a loved one, or even death of a job, or, you know, death of a relationship, or what have you, we have to learn how to release what was. We cannot continue to resuscitate it anymore. We cannot continue to, you know, try to bring it back to life. You know, once it's gone, it's gone. You know what I mean? And so we're just going to talk more in depth and find out ways how to just say, you know, just really close. I don't want to be too technical, but yeah, but close that coffin once and for all.
Amen.
Close the coffin of that abusive relationship, or that job that you once had, that you was committed to, dedicated to, but they let you go, whatever, you know, to close the coffin once and for all of that loved one, or whatever it is. So we're going to talk more in depth about that. And that's going to be on the 24th of July.
Yes,
Okay?
perfect.
So that's what we have so far.
Yes, so those are the three topics that we're going to be discussing in July. And for those of you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those topics in the description section of this video once we're done with this live, so that you guys will have all the information of the links and stuff, and when you're going to sign on. Also, I put something in the comments, guys. We do have a Facebook group, and we will be kicking back off our self-care nights. I'm going to have to explain just a second of what that's all about. But we do those about once every other month or what have you. We think we're going to probably do more often, but we're really going to start to spend a lot of time inside of our Facebook group community. So to get inside there, all of y'all are welcome to come in. Make sure y'all answer those 3 questions. Those I don't know if it's 2 or 3 that pop up when you click join group. Yes, so go to bit.ly/sister to sister connection. I've already pinned it in the comments, and it will also be in the description section after this live. So Tawanta, if you could go over the self-care night that we have inside of our sister to sister connection community?
Yeah, the self-care is something I consider to be mandatory for us. Because we as women, we definitely need to take the time out to do that self-healing
Right.
from the inside out. Very, very important, especially when you have gone through a traumatic event such as myself. We gotta learn how to release all the negative toxins that's been built up inside of us.
Right.
And why not have that self-care night and pamper yourself. And so Letitia and I, we decided to have that on a monthly basis, and we were scheduled to do one honestly in the beginning of June, but unfortunately that's when things changed for on my end. And so we are definitely going to reschedule that event. It was called Summer Breeze. We're going to continue on with that, and we're going to definitely, we would love for you guys to participate on that. I have the stuff already set up. I had everything laid out at the time, that people go ahead and they could order their stuff, purchase their stuff, and I could send the samples to you, and it's still sitting on my table and everything, y'all.
Right. Well, the next one is just going to be even bigger and better. So this is more of a reason why you guys definitely need to go in and join our Facebook group, because these are fun. Like we do self-care. We have a conversation that doesn't go outside of that event. So it's not an event where we record it and we send we don't do that. It's like, because we really talk about deep topics, and you're going to meet some other amazing women. One thing I realized is that, and I don't know, in the past, this probably was looked at as a bad thing. But I realized that, sometimes your online community is more there for you than your offline community, right? And I've had experienced that for years, especially when I first started my business. The people that I had more people supporting me online than offline. So when we do these self-care nights, it's like a breath of fresh air. We have a lot of fun, right? And those of y'all who are tuning in and watching, you gotta get out of the norm sometimes and get in front of other women who have a different perspective on life, who have more to give, more to pour into you. And that's what that is about a lot. So thank you so much, Tawanta, for sharing that. I do see Tanya, the #1 tax queen in the building. Hey girl, I see you down there, love. Thank you. I'm so mad I can't put you guys comments. No worries, Tawanta. I'm so bad I can't put you guys comments on the screen, but it's all good. We had some technical difficulties with StreamYard. So as I mentioned before, right, this is like the second half, I think it was the third half of our show today, talking about how do you get back into life and business after going through chaos, So for everything else that's been going on in my life, it's been pretty good. I've been still running and operating my business. I've been still meeting with my clients every week and what have you, other than the week that I had to start to officially move. But how Tawanta and I are going to really kick back off the show, when we sat down together, we're like, okay, let's talk about the topics that we're going to be discussing in July. Let's focus on that. So we sat down, we went through the topics that we're going to be going over in July. And then after that, the next conversation that her and I are going to have is about our self-care night. What are we going to be doing for that? How are we going to get people registered to attend? Things like that. So I would have to say, for those of you who have maybe lost momentum or got sidetracked because listen, ladies, life happens. Life happens. Like, we are not super women. Like, I can't stand it when women be like, I'm Wonder Woman, I'm Superwoman. Why are you comparing yourself to a character that doesn't exist? You're human, you're an individual. You have days and nights and months where you're just not yourself. Like, type in the chat, guys, from January to now, was there a couple of weeks or maybe a few months where you didn't feel like you was on it? Like, you didn't feel like you was like on top of things. You felt that you was letting things go to the next day or the next week or the next month, and you wasn't at your 100% self. Type in me in the comments right now. So Tawanta and I getting back on doing the show, building back up that momentum, we're definitely going to need you guys' help too. So definitely share with us, guys, what are some things that you guys want to see in our community? What are some of the topics you guys want to discuss? Do you guys want us to change the times up that we do the show a little bit? Do you guys want us to bring on more guests? Like, what is it that you want us to do? Now I'm going to go in the comments here. I do see Ivana said, yes, that's so true. I had a great time. Oh, yeah. Ivana was on our last self-care night.
Yeah.
She also said, hold on, let me read on my computer screen because it's bigger. Oh, you had technical difficulties tonight, Tanya? Girl, we had technical difficulties too, honey. I think we were like, what, 10, 20 minutes late for the show?
Yep.
Child, Streamyard was doing, she was over there like, listen, I'm off today. Okay, you done ran me out,
feeling it, honey.
She wasn't feeling it. Yes, honey. So we just had to switch over to Zoom. Yeah, so Tanya said me, yeah, like there's gonna be months throughout the year, and it's like, for how do you get back into the game? Put pen to paper, writing down, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to focus on this month. I call it brain dumping. Those are my clients who are on here know exactly what I'm talking about. And just write, and just say, you know what? If I could just take care of 2 things today, then I'm going to make sure that I do that. You know what I mean? But, consistency does not mean you do 100 things a day. Consistency can mean just you may do 10 things on Monday, 2 things on Tuesday, 3 things on Wednesday, 1 thing on Thursday. It's just getting in action, all the time. Like, how about you, Tawanta? What are some tips you can give to the audience just to get, people feel like they can't get back into the game or they're trying to?
Well, one thing I know I did while I was dealing with my brother-in-law's passing, and my aunts and my sister-in-law, was that I had to walk away.
Oh,
yes. I had to walk away. I had to breathe, and I had to live again. That's what I had to do. I had to get out of the atmosphere. I had to get away from everybody. And I walked away. I went downstairs to the lobby of the hotel, sat there, and just digressed, just try to just let it all out. How I did that, I did communicate with, with loved ones, and just shared just vented basically, and that was therapeutic for me. Now that's not for everybody, because I know everybody doesn't want to keep on regurgitating the same old incident over and over and over again. I get that. Right. That's just how people are. But for me, I just felt good enough to release it, because if I did not release it, girl, I would have lost my mind. I probably would have just been like, okay, I'm having a panic attack or whatever the case may be. But that's what I did for myself. I walked away, I breathed, and I started to live again, meaning that I took the time out just to meditate, just to focus on God, just to focus on his word, just to focus on his promises, that he was with me through this process, that he was carrying me through this process, and that he was going to continue to strengthen me through this process, and that I was not alone, and I'm even doing that now, because I'm still healing from these 3 tragedies. I'm still healing from the 3 losses. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. People assume that, okay, well, the funeral's over. Okay, so I can move on with my life, even though you are moving on, but yet the pain is still there, yet the grieving process is still there. It took me months to really start to really let go of my mom's passing. I mean, I cried and cried and cried, and it took about a good months for me, maybe even a couple of years, I would say, just to really start to move forward and continue on being that wife and especially a mom to my kids, So grieving is totally different. Everybody handle grief differently. Everybody doesn't bawl out crying at the same time. People just keep it quiet to themselves. But I highly recommend that after a while, you don't hold on to that grief. You learn how to release it. You know exactly what you need to do to release that. Like I did for me, I walked away. And I think we all need to learn how to do that. Just walk away from the drama, walk away from the arguments, walk away from, from that toxic environment if you have to. you know, and not saying that you are running away. You're not running away from the situation, but you need that time to just to really, you know, breathe, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that I learned to do while I was away, during those times.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, I was just posting
That's
about the
okay.
show. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I like that how you mentioned how you have to remove yourself. And I think that's the problem, Tawanta, that most, women have
Yeah.
is the removal. We're only thinking about the pain that is going to feel like during the process of purging things out of your life or removing people from your life, but
Right.
we're not thinking about the destination over the
Mm,
relief of not dealing with or having to experience those issues, the drama, the 2 hour conversations, the investing and the things like that.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was that way for me. It's like, oh my God, what I'm going to do without these individuals? I know them all my life. How's my kids
Right.
going to be affected
Right.
by it? How's it going to affect my marriage? How am I going to feel? Because to be quite honest, there is some days that I'll feel a little bit depressed. So
Yep.
it's like,
Yep.
I always encourage people to I encourage everybody to speak to get a therapist. I really do. I mean, you could see someone in person, or even these days, you could see someone online for 15 to 30 minutes. I think
Hmm.
it's important to talk to individuals that is not directly related to you and that is not within your bubble. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
they can give
Hmm.
you like
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
the the non-diluted advice. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
so that's what it is. And again, ladies, I know it's hard. I know it's difficult, but I feel like we make so much excuses for negativity. We make so much excuses for the negative environment that we're in, and we all
Hmm.
have the choice and decision to get out. So let me just go to the comments before we move to the next
Yeah.
thing. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, guys, go and hit that like button, guys. I do see that there's about 6-7 people on. Hit that like button. That truly helps our channel.
It
We want to
does.
really grow this channel, and if you guys ever have gotten any value out of the show or even during this episode, please feel free to just smash that like button, and we'll greatly appreciate it. Tanya said yes, I understand. Tree said yes. Ivana gave a little check mark. Awesome. Tanya said I ended up in the hospital in November 2020 because of stress. Wow.
Ooh, girl.
Yes.
And you know
Mm,
what? That's what I'm saying. That's what is so important for us when we come across a traumatic event in our life that is totally beyond our control.
mm,
You don't realize how much it can impact a person's life. Like for my sister-in-law, she was deep in depression to the point
mm,
where is that, she didn't want to live anymore. She made up in
mm,
her mind a long time ago that she was already out of here,
mm,
and dealing with the fact of, she could not take care of her son. Her son was in a very bad car accident, like 20 years ago, where it left him partially paralyzed.
mm,
And they had to remove a piece of his brain and whatnot. And at the time, she did have the availability of people to take care of her son, but she chose
mm,
not to do that. She wanted to do it for herself, and she did for a while. But then
mm,
things just
mm,
happened in life, and one thing led to the next, to the next, to the next, or whatever. And as a result of it, it just really kind of just put her in a dark, dark
mm,
mindset, in a very deep, deep depression. And of course, her body to break down and
mhm.
all these things. And as I was sharing
Wow.
with Letitia, that we didn't know all the additional ailments that she endured until when she was in the hospital. And it
Mhm.
shocked everybody in that room. We were all sitting in
Right,
our room,
right.
and we had, the doctor on speaker, and she was
Mm.
just laying it all out. This
Mhm.
is what happened. This is your sister. She has full-blown breast cancer. She's, it's all in her mind, in her brain right now, her body, this, that, whatever. That would
Right,
explain why
right.
she had fallen so many times, and her,
Mhm.
because she's been laying on the floor, sitting on the floor,
Right, right.
for days and weeks. And when
Mm.
you sit like that without moving, your muscle starts to break down.
Right, right. Very
Start
true.
releasing toxins and stuff in the body
Mm.
and all these
Yeah.
things. And so it was just one thing after the next. And, you know, the family was just devastated. And me on my end, I had to be that support system for them, even though they were supporting me during the time of my loss of my aunt, but yet I had to be that support for them, you know. And so that stress, I'm telling you, can do some major damage to your organs, to your bloodstream, to your arteries, everything. And that's why I highly recommend, ladies, that we cannot try to fix everything. We cannot try to do it. We have to learn how to release that thing. Like Letitia said, definitely talk to a therapist, somebody that is outside of the pocket of family that can give you, you know, a better perspective as to how to deal with tragedies, how to deal with losses, or whatever it is that you've been dealing with, so you can live, you know, so you can really enjoy your life and not get caught up in all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it can do some bodily damage to you.
Yeah, it's almost like a spider web. It's like, what, you know, we think of a spider web, and once
Yeah,
you get into it, it's so sticky and it's hard to get
absolutely.
out. And you know, yeah.
It can, it can. And I've witnessed that by, you know, with my, you know, with my family on both sides, really on both sides. Because like I said, I
Yeah.
came across some secret stuff that I didn't even know happened till that day, you know, on my family side. And it just tripped me out, man. Excuse me. And I'm like, y'all carry this secret for this long, for this many years? Wow. You know, and
And
even
why?
still, not everybody still knows. Not everybody still knows the secret. You know, it was just me and a few other people. And it's like, my God, I'm like, this is crazy, you know, but it just lets you see why people act the way they act, why people do the things they do, why they chose to live this lifestyle, why they chose to do the things they do, because of this secret, because of this pain, because of this tragedy that took place in their life when they were a child, when they were a teenager, or whatever the case may be. And so, ladies, we can't not continue to allow the pain of other people, you know, to dominate us and put us in that situation where my sister-in-law was, in that deep, dark state. You know, my husband went to her house to try to find some legal documentation or whatever, you know, prior to the funeral. And he walked in and it was chaos in there.
Yeah.
It was like the show Hoarders. If y'all
And
remember
that
the show
affected
Hoarders,
him.
it
Yeah.
did. He didn't stay there no more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He had to walk out. He couldn't deal with it. You know, he said, do y'all remember back in the day? I don't even think they still sell it anymore, but if y'all remember back in the day, they had this little sticky thing that you had on the ceiling to attract
Yeah, for the
flies.
flies. Yeah.
Well, my sister-in-law had it, and it was all black. That lets you know how long she's been deep in depression.
My God.
It was so black, and it was full of it. It just, you know, so.
And that shows a lot for us, that that can be us. That can be any one of you guys tuning in. That can be
Absolutely.
Tawanta, you and I. If we don't get ourselves in check and really do the work that we need to do to make sure that we don't go into that dark hole, into that dark space, because there is nobody that's going to reach us and rescue us. You know, it's almost like, you know, yeah, we have to do that. So we have some great comments in the chat here. Tawanta, Jules said, yes, remove yourself unapologetically. Many times you may not have a reason, just step away. That is so important. And honestly, Jewel, I had to come to that point of being unapologetic about me separating myself, to say, you know what, whatever hate, whatever animosity, whatever backlash I'm going to get, I'm just going to deal with it. And I'm not going to apologize for doing something that was best for me, what that was for me. You know what I mean? So I totally get that, of that not being, you know, because we always, as women, say, I'm sorry, but I had to. No, we won't say sorry. You know, if you had to, you had to, and there's no apologizing.
There's no apologizing
beyond that, right?
Absolutely.
Just get out there and do it, you know. So, you know, and that's important, you know, and this is a process. And one of my clients, Daryl, talked about this too, about how I shared a story about how when I was younger, and this
Mm-hmm.
family member that I had to remove from my life just recently, I bought a bunch of clothes for myself, and they were like, "Why you bought all those clothes for yourself?" And then I returned everything the next day because I didn't feel that I was worthy to spend that much money on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I have to exercise that emotion. I have to say, now when I purchase something for myself, I say, "Teacher, stop." When I start
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I shouldn't get this, or I shouldn't get my nails done, I shouldn't get my hair done, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, I say, "Teacher, stop." And I
Mm-hmm.
and I have to work on that every single day
Mm-hmm.
by saying, "I'm worthy, I'm worth this. I work hard, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
mom, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
wife, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
businesswoman,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right, right.
And I deserve what I deserve. I deserve whatever I give myself,
Yeah, yeah,
So that's the process about just being unapologetic, because there are going to be people that want to tell you what you're worth, or tell you what you should get, or what
right,
you should get
right.
awarded to you. Give
Yeah.
yourself your own flowers. You know what I mean? It's like what they say, don't give me flowers when I'm dead, give me flowers now. Do that
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Give yourself some
Mm-hmm.
flowers. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Treat
Mhm.
yourself to a massage place, some place that you could get that internal therapy, if you will,
Right. Right.
that also helps release the toxins as well, because you don't realize you see all the trauma, you hear all the problems, and that is seeping right into your heart. It's seeping
Yes,
into
it is.
in your spirit, it's
Yes,
seeping
it
into
is.
your soul, and you go to bed with that. You don't, you may not be thinking about it, but it's there. You think
And
about
you pass
it,
that
it makes
on to
sense.
your children.
You pass it on to your
You
children.
do.
And as a matter of fact, I had just wrote this, toxic behavior leaves a stain that cannot be erased, but you
Nope.
can prevent it from bleeding into your current life. See,
Hmm.
meaning that you have the next generation is your children, so you can
Hmm.
block it, you can stop it, you can say, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna let this happen in my children. I'm not. It stops today.
The buck
You
stops
know,
here.
th-
Yeah.
it, this drama that y'all got going on, this is a generational pattern that's
Hmm.
been going on forever. But it's not
Hmm.
coming in my family. It's not coming
Right.
with my children. I'm
Right.
no, 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 no. We can't
That's
have
true.
that. You know,
Right.
and we started to see that, or I saw that, and I was like,
Hmm.
no, we can't deal with that. And thank God that
Hmm.
my daughters were with me on the second go around. My youngest was with us for my brother-in-law's funeral, but the second, well, my sister-in-law, neither one of them was there with us, thank God, because I'm glad
Hmm.
they weren't there, because I didn't want them to witness. They already witnessed
Hmm.
enough as it was at the first
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but to
Yeah.
really see the full spectrum of the family
Hmm.
dynamics and the attitudes and the drama and oh my God, it was just way
Too
too
much.
much.
Too much for them. And I'm glad that you did protect them. I'm glad that you did, you know, I'm glad that you definitely did protect them. We have a great question in the comments here.
Sure.
Jewel mentioned, how do we see the signs that a sister is in trouble mentally and physically? What do you think about that, Tawanta? What's your
Well, I
answer to
can
that?
tell you based on the conversation, but even with that, that can be tricky too. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you deal with a person who's been deeply depressed, they don't really show the signs.
Mm-mm.
They don't show it on purpose, because in their minds, they're already dead.
Mm-hmm.
They have already prepared the funeral. They already have exited out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're physically there, they're moving and talking and everything, but they already have exit out of here. And
Right,
in
right.
my sister's situation, that's what it was with her. She had
Mm-hmm.
already exited out. She already
Mm-hmm.
had pre-planned what she wanted to do and how
Right,
she wanted
right.
done and all of those things. So, but in your heart, and that's what I was telling one of my friends. I said, you know what you need to start doing is to really start making that trip to your sibling, make that trip to your brother, make that trip to your father, whoever it is, because people are always going to tell you over the phone, I'm good, I'm doing all right, everything's okay. And then sometimes they will say, yeah, I'm having issues. I've been struggling. I've been this, that, whatever, but I'll be all right. I'll be okay. And yeah, they may be okay, but they're not okay. You know what I'm saying? And it's difficult. It really is difficult, because people who have been deeply depressed, you can't understand the mindset. If you've never been that deep and dark in depression, you would never understand why they do the things they do, why they decide to just end their life like that. You would never understand that, because you have not been where they were. Now,
Right.
I'm not excusing their decision. It was a choice, and it was a bad choice on the end, but that's what they thought was the best for them, because they were just tired. My
Right.
sister-in-law said she was tired. I'm tired.
Mhm.
I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore, just that or whatever. And at that time, we didn't think in that sense that she was just like going to clock out like that. No,
Mhm.
but she was just tired of the weight of pain, of the
Right.
emotional pain,
Right.
especially losing her brother like that. And she
Mhm.
talked to him the same day
Mhm.
before he fell out and died in cardiac
Mhm.
arrest. She brushed him off. He was concerned about her well-being,
Mhm.
and she didn't give him the time of the day. She's like, bro, I don't feel like talking right now. I will talk to you later. She told us that. And
Right.
then
Right.
next thing you know, she gets a call saying that he's in the hospital in cardiac arrest. He was in cardiac
Mhm.
arrest for 20 minutes without any type of help.
Mm.
For 20 minutes without any oxygen in the brain.
Mm.
That's how long it took for the ambulance to come. And then
Mm.
they got him back, but then he died again. And they got
Mm.
his heart back, but they put him on the ventilator. But he never was back again after that.
Mm. Mm.
It just got deteriorated back, it just got
Wow.
worse. And so, I understand how depression works, because I was that deep in depression, not as deep as she was, but I was
Mhm.
in that situation 2 years ago. So I
Right.
know how it feels to be in that dark space. And
Mhm.
I know how it feels when you just want to give up, and there's no
Mhm.
one to understand, or people love you and all that. But
Mm.
I thank God that he brought me out of it, because I called his name and said, God, get
Mhm.
me out of this.
Mhm.
Okay. Now she had that choice, and she did. I don't know if she did ask him or not. I can't really say, but she's not here with us anymore,
Mhm.
and that's the sad part about it,
Right.
because
Right.
family was right there close to her, but yet
Mhm.
she shut people out
She
anyway.
shut people out. Yeah.
The
I
only
really. Yeah.
person that was around was her niece. And
Right.
her niece was the one that was like the quote unquote caregiver at that time. And
Mhm.
even then, she said she didn't even know what she was getting herself into. So that
Yes.
weight and that burden was on her as
Mhm.
well. And to this day, she's still broken. She's
Mm.
still in a deep depression herself.
Wow.
So this
Wow.
toxic is this type of depression, it
It
bleeds.
runs deep. It really,
It
really
runs deep,
does.
man.
Yeah. I mean, to answer your question, Jewel, from speaking from perspective from us looking outside in, I say it's an analogy of like when you get on an airplane, right? And the instructor is telling you to, if there it happened to be turbulence or a possible crash, God forbid, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on somebody else.
Mm,
So for me, when I deal with individuals, whether it be my family or my friends or whatever, and they're going through something that is really hard on them, it's like they're depressed, they're out of it, they feel there's so much going on. um I'm always there to help, obviously, but a lot of times we could take on someone, we could have our issues going on, and then we taking on somebody else's issues, and now it's almost like it's a compound effect because we want to save
yeah.
people. But again, we got to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first and say, okay, before you go to that person's house or before you get on the phone with that person, do you have your own mental health in order? Or are you
Yeah.
happy with yourself? Or you, because I used to sit and listen to other people's problems and issues, and it would seep onto my life and so my own personal mental health, that it was starting to affect me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's like I used to work with the mentally ill. So one of the things that we were trained on is that a lot of times when people reach that end of their life, for that deep depression, it's already started years back. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's never
Yep.
like when you find out, it's not when it started. That could have been
Yeah.
stuff that's been going on for 10 years. And
Oh my God.
so
Yes. So
you
true.
can, yes, you cannot fix something that has been transpiring in motion for so long.
Yes.
Instead, you have to encourage that person to reach out and speak to someone. Give them some numbers to refer. There's so much free resources, so much free clinics, so much free resources, psych doctors that you can go online and research and see if somebody, a social worker, could go down to their home and see if there's okay. And if there is something going on, like for your example, like here in New York, it if this was something that was caught maybe a year or two ago, I would have called Adult Protective Services, guys. If y'all don't know, just like this, Child Protective Services is also Adult Protective Services. They would have visited her house. Okay, obviously she probably wouldn't let them in the first time. Okay, because that happened. And if they tried a few times, they document everything. That's why I say go to them, because they'll actually document. They'll document stuff, and they'll actually, because they need to show to the judge that at least they tried.
Right.
And then the judge will give them a court order, and then they'll be able to get court order entry into the house, to where they would have had the sheriff or the police there, and she would have had to let them in. They would saw the condition, and then they would have referred her to outreach and social services, where they probably would have moved her from the house, probably put her in a CRSRO, which is a single room occupancy. They probably do medication management, things like that. And it would have went from there. So that's the route I would take personally if I was dealing with a family member or friend that was going through something deep depression that me personally, I'm not certified to help. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we can say something wrong to that person that may take them over the edge. Because honestly, you could get over something that is a real issue for somebody else, but you're like, girl, like that happened. Like, I had a family member that she fell. Like, you ever walk on the sidewalk and like the sidewalkers are like this, and you trip and fall. This happened to her probably 7 years ago. I never forget, because she called me when she fell, and she still talks about it to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that the majority of people that laughed that day when they saw you, they have fallen too. And maybe they're laughing because they had a flashback of when they fell and busted head. Right? And but she kept mentioning it, and I couldn't understand why she wouldn't let that go. To me, that's simple. I fell, I let it go. Babies fall. I have a little 8-9 month old, and she falls all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, but not in a bad way, y'all. She's crawling, so she's like, okay, I don't want nobody like, oh my God, So but again, like, it's a deep rooted issue with her that for some reason she just can't get over that traumatized her being publicly embarrassed, which everyone that I know have gone through some form of public embarrassment, right? But Therese said, that's me. What is you, Therese? Explain. So that's what, that's the route I take, to answer your question, Jewel. How do you see the signs? You're right, Tawanta. Some people are really good at hiding things. They won't give you access to their environment is there. So you think everything's on the up and up. You think everything's fine because they're not giving you that information. They're not dumping it. They're what is it? Introverts. They're just keeping it within. But
if you saw my sister-in-law house, the exterior part of it, the curb appeal, it looks nice. Fine. It's decent. Right. Yeah. There's no issues, no like questions like, okay, why is it like nothing like that? But as soon as you unlock that door and you walk into that house,
and even here in New York, there's a lot of houses that are hidden behind bushes, and the bushes are nicely cut. They don't have the weeds on it. They don't have the little wasp nests growing in it, and they treat the yard. But when you go in, it's like, oh my God, what just happened?
Right. Yeah. You walking into the world of that person's life. You walk into that chaos. This is what they're feeling. This is what they're experiencing. This is what they're, visualizing. This is their chaotic life. And that's what I was, expressing to my husband. I said, baby, you just walked into her life. It's dark.
You know what? Also, that was like an external example of what was going on in her mind and her spirit.
Oh, yeah.
How many of us are going through that same bit of hoarding in our minds? Same example I gave you with the family member I told you about. You're holding on to that thing that has no value to where you want to be in the future or where you're going to be right now. So even that, it's a lot of the internal stuff that people don't see. Like they could be the cleanest person, but still go to bed at night crying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how do they get back into the momentum? How do they get kicked up?
Yeah.
It's guys, this is a world, like this new era that we're in. It's
Yeah.
time to focus on us and get yourself right.
Yeah. And the thing
Right.
is
And
too, I
yeah.
learned also for me, being as though that I was like the support network to a lot of people in my family and everything. I also had this barrier, if you will, to not allow that mental disturbance, if you will, of that individual to bleed into me. You know what I mean? Carrying that weight in my system. You know what I'm saying? I did not want that. I did not want that. I made that choice. And that's the thing, too, ladies. You have the power of choice. You have the power to make a decision, to either absorb everything that you have witnessed, that you have seen, and carry that with you for the days and weeks and months of your life while you're here on this earth, or you just say, you know what, I'm going to deal with it for this moment. But once it is done, once that coffin door is closed and locked up, I'm done with it. It is going in the ground with that.
It is finished.
It's finished, because I am not going to carry something that is no longer of value to me.
Right.
I'm not going to carry something that does not have no life for me. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Whether it's that person, whether it's that job, whether it's a sibling, a relationship, a bad argument, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, or whatever that was never resolved in the family 10 years ago. But yet
Mm-hmm.
through this funeral, it coughs up all this garbage,
Right, it
you know?
does.
And you like, what the heck? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know what? I'm not here. I'm not going to receive that. I'm blocking all of this right now. I'm not
Right.
taking none of that in me, right? I love my life and I want to live
Mm-hmm.
it in a clean and healthy way as possible. So
Yep.
I made that decision for myself. And we as women, we got to do the same thing too.
And this morning I was going to post, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be
Absolutely.
glad in it. And I think
Hmm.
that's the real focus, is that God has woke you up this morning. He
Yep.
has carried you on through this day. You could have left this earth at 12 p.m. today, but he carried you on the next hour, the next hours.
Yeah.
And you got to be rejoicing and just be happy in it, and no
Right.
matter how
Right.
big or small. So to answer, I would love for you to share, what your experience is as far as the funeral system and what you've gone through. And I know we talked about this yesterday on
Hmm.
how this is such a much needed topic to talk about and discuss. So go
Yeah.
ahead, sis.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely need to bring this more in conversation, in terms of talking about funeral businesses, funeral etiquette, and we as the clients, you as the clients, what you have rights to. It's important for us to not continue to be ignorant with when it comes to funerals and stuff like that. Please take it upon yourself to do your research on that funeral home. I don't care how long they've been in the game. I don't care how popular they are. You still need to do your homework. You need to know, what they're about, how they take care of the clients, or do they gouge, money from you? Because when you are going through that vulnerable state of losing someone that you loved and dearly cared for, most directors take full advantage of that. They abuse that by pouring all of this money to you. Like, well, if you want this to be a special service, you want her to be laid beautifully, then I definitely want to extend this to you, extend that to you, or this, that, or whatever. And of course, we we want the best for our loved ones. We want them to lay to rest beautiful and have a beautiful service and all of that, guaranteed. But if you don't have that financial support, don't don't fall prey to every demands of what the funeral director has to offer. You need to know that they are supposed to present to you the listings of things that they do have available to you. Yeah, I found that out through my own personal observation, my own investigation, that they are supposed to really have like a menu or a la carte, or however you call it. But they're supposed to have a menu of things for you to look at, the different options of caskets and the cost. Now, let me say something about these caskets, y'all. You don't have to buy it from them directly. I found out that you can get it from Costco's and get it from Sam's and I think Amazon too for the fraction of the cost. And I know that may sound kind of crazy, but believe it or not, it does exist. And you don't have to pay $5,000 or 10 grand or whatever amount of money it costs to get a coffin nowadays. You can get it way cheaper if you purchase it from Costco's or from those other markets. And those funeral homes, those funeral directors, they will accept it. They will accept that. Yes, they will. Okay. So you don't have to just be, allow them to gouge you with all of these costs and stuff. Okay. First of all, and second of all, you need to have everything documented to make sure they have everything done to the fullest detail, meaning that they cross all the T's and dot all the I's. You make sure that the death certificate is accurate. My husband had to go off a few times to make sure that his brother's information was accurate and his sister's information was accurate. Okay. They had the dates wrong. They had the birthday wrong and everything. They even had the name wrong. It's crazy. Everything has a signature too. So if that loved one died in the hospital, of course, the doctor, whoever is in charge of at that time, they have to sign that death certificate before the funeral people come and pick them up. They got to have that. If not, then the body can't go nowhere until they get that documentation taken care of. And then, of course, dealing with the cemetery, that has to be taken care of because there's some signatures that needs to be presented there as well. So there is so many technical things that you need to be aware of before the passing of your loved one. Okay. You cannot continue to be ignorant anymore. You cannot continue to run away from, when it comes to death, when it comes to having a discussion with your family about death. Please, especially in our culture alone, we are so ignorant. We do not. I'm telling you, so many people that don't have life insurance. That's amazing to me. And then when it comes to somebody who passes away, especially those who passes away unexpectedly, then everybody goes to a GoFundMe page. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but we shouldn't even have to do that. Now let's just, now we just want to do it anyway, but we still have the funds. We should be already protected. We should already have the legal documentation already, available, in ahead of time and all those things. My husband's mother, she basically years ago, she had purchased not one, not two, but several plots for the family. And no one knew at the time that she did. And she also purchased additional plots later on. And that's how we were able to get, my mother buried there, as well as my brother who just passed there, with the exception of my sister-in-law. She's buried right across from my family, but she's not in that additional plot or what have you. And that's another issue in itself. But the thing is, she had made the smart move years ago to go ahead and purchase these plots for the family. Now, if you have the financial support, you have the financial blessings, you need to go ahead and start doing that. You need to go ahead and start making preparations. So God forbid, if you and your family, if someone in your family passes away or what have you, you won't have to worry about the extra expense to bury your loved one because you already have taken care of the plots and all of that stuff like that. Okay. Now, for me, I have learned a lot because I'm telling you, in my mind, I was being naive because I really didn't know that in the cemetery, there are so many different costs, so many costs involved in that. I was just really being ignorant. I really was. I didn't know what the grave itself, to purchase just the grave, that was around $2,700. And I had just assumed that was already covered, meaning that you get the grave, then yes, you could go in, and all that good stuff, and she's good to go. No, that's just the grave. Then you have to pay for them to open the hole. to open up the dirt and all that stuff. That was an additional $1,700. I was like, what? What? I couldn't believe that. I was just so shocked by that. And then you got to talk about the tombstone, all of that stuff. And then you got to talk about the vault. That's another additional expense. And all these other things. I was just so shocked by all of that. I have no shame to admit my ignorance, because I really, really thought that if you just pay that one time, that it covers everything, but it doesn't. So you see how important it is for all of us, especially in the Black community. We really do need to educate ourselves. We really do need to take the time out and, really speak to our children, our family, and really start looking at life insurance. If you have a job right now and you've been blessed to be with that company for a good while and they have great benefits or whatever, life insurance and all that stuff, thank God for that. I pray that, God forbid you don't pass away, but if God forbid it does happen to you and your loved one or whatever, at least you're covered. There's some great companies that have some great life insurance and all that good stuff. But I know a lot of us don't have that. A lot of us don't have a job right now or whatever, but there are some additional resources there. I know that you can start off right now and start, preparing and, and all those things and whatnot, and talk to that funeral director in your neighborhood or whoever, you know what I'm saying? Because I know, I have heard and witnessed that, a lot of funeral directors do take people, take advantage of grieving clients. And they pour all this additional funds to these people. Say, oh, wouldn't you want some flowers? Or would you want the praying cards? Those praying cards that you give out to the family and all that stuff, those things. Oh my God. And my husband, thank God for his talent, that where he was, that he was gifted, the talent enough to create the obituary for his sister-in-law. And he also created the prayer cards as well. And he got it printed at UPS. So that's a little thing I want to give to y'all guys too. If you have that gift in graphic arts and all that stuff like that, go to UPS. They will do that for you for the fraction of the cost versus you going to a local printer shop or print company or whatever that will charge you, 10 times more. Okay. Or even just the funeral home themselves, but they will upcharge you as well with that too. Okay. So, think about all these little details, the flowers, the spread that they put over the coffin. Sometimes they say, well, we can add this as well. If you want to do one for your loved one, you want to do it for your sister, you want to do it for flowers from your kids and this, that, whatever. That's an additional, $100, an additional $50, an additional $500 and all this stuff. It keeps adding up and adding up and adding up and adding up. So I just wanted to be able to share that with you and to let you guys know to really be aware of how funeral homes operate. And there are some wonderful funeral homes now that truly do they do their business well, and they do it right, and they do it professionally, and they definitely do not abuse their clients, by taking advantage of them because they're grieving and all of that. They are very understanding. And that's why I said, ladies and there may be some guys here, ladies and gentlemen, to please do your homework. Do not just jump on that top rated funeral home. There's hundreds of funeral homes in that area where you live that you can contact, that you can get information from and all of that. Make sure you talk to them and ask them, do you have a menu or do you have a listing of all of the items that I can look at? And it doesn't even have to be currently of a person just passing away. You could just ask them in general so you can know what is available. And then you could call them again or set a meeting with them and say, okay, this is what I like to do. My aunt, she had already had set up what she wanted to do. And that's why my cousins, her 4 children, were able to have a beautiful, memorable service for her because she already knew what she wanted. And thank God for the funeral director because they're family to us anyway, so, they took good care of her and they honored her request. They did not, badger. They did not, upsell or anything like that or whatever. They honored my Aunt Betty's decisions. They honored what their kids wanted and all of that. So thank God that, that they were, that we had wonderful funeral directors that truly respect and honor, the loved ones that passed away. So I just wanted to share that with you all. I didn't mean to be long-winded about it, but this is something personal to my heart because of what I've witnessed personally. And I see now how it can truly, we in our Black, in the culture that we're in, we don't want to talk about death. We really don't want to talk about it. We don't want to sit down and really have a serious discussion about it because immediately we think somebody's going to die tomorrow. As soon as we say death, oh, you're going to die.
Right.
I don't want to talk about it. You cannot do that anymore. If you do not want your loved ones to scrape, because we had to get money. My husband could not afford to bury. He could not do it anymore because we had to pay for my brother-in-law. And that was not on purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we planned it. It had to be done.
He had no choice.
He had no choice. But now we had a choice. We couldn't afford to pay for my sister-in-law. So everybody had to chip in some kind of way. But that's a headache in itself, to get people to just really humble themselves and just, get off their little trip, whatever issues they got going on, and start pouring in so we can bury this woman the way she deserved to be buried once and for all.
And with some dignity, yeah.
Yeah, with dignity, absolutely. And cremation, forget that. Well, I won't say forget it. That's something we did not want to do. But I know that is the next thing. For most people, yes, because it's the cheapest thing, but it's still expensive.
I'm getting cremated.
It's like, depending on where you are, I don't know how much it is in New York, but I know in New Jersey, I think it was maybe $5,000 or something. Or
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. Back in the day, it was affordable, but now people went to cremation now because they can't afford doing the traditional funeral services.
But it adds up to be the same too in many cases, but yeah, I mean, Mavana said, yes, I have set up what I want, where to go. I told my sister and daughter not to go crazy. I'm going to go back checking more on that. Yeah, but it's like, to also piggyback off of what you mentioned, Tawanta, about, I know, Mavana, you said not going crazy. It's like, but a lot of times, even on the basic level, right, Tawanta, you're paying a lot of money, upwards of 10, if not almost 20K just to bury your loved one. And it is a lot. And I know you and I spoke about this yesterday. It's like you start to really see, go ahead, go watch a movie. You start to really see how people act and react and how they operate, because they may not want to help foot the bill, they may not, but they want to make the decisions, but they don't want to foot the bill. I say when my father passed away, it was very seamless. It was very, calm and easy. He took care of what he had to take care of. So my mother didn't work out anything. But that's what I'm saying, having everything in order. He had everything in order because he knew, he was going to pass away, long time before he did. So he had all that in order. But so even when we did spend a little extra, it was almost like, oh, we just want to make the casket look nicer. We want to make the, give him a nicer suit or something like that.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we had to do. We had to, my husband didn't buy the dress or anything. My family member actually, got the accessories, and it was a dear friend of my husband that actually, bought the outfits for both my in-laws. And make sure in the funeral service they did the makeup and all the stuff they need to do, and they did a great job. Absolutely did a wonderful job and all of that. Good. Another thing that I also came across too, when it comes to the embalming situation, that's a choice too. That is not like, okay, we got to embalm. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. There's and then with the Jewish culture, they don't.
That's what I was about to say. I don't think the Jewish people do that. But also, as we mentioned, when you was mentioning, so I'm glad that you're bringing this to the forefront, Tawanta, because of what happened in the pandemic, so many people passed away. Some of these, funeral homes who are not on the up and up have sort of gotten away with scamming these people. And this is something that they've been doing for a while, that they've been making a lucrative income from.
Absolutely.
And I mean, so that's like, you're right, Tawanta, you got to really look into the right funeral home and shop around. I know some people don't like to leave their, I know in some families, they're like, we got to bury them right away. We don't want them to, just be sitting in the, I forgot what it's called, but, to
in
make sure that you're being
whatnot,
treated right, because then you got the ceremony. And if the people, the family who are coming who are not treated respectfully, or they don't feel like things have been done right, that's another drama you got to deal with. Oh, why she didn't have it, and why she didn't have it, and why she didn't, all this to say, but they let their person in the car. They let their person in the car. I ain't got no money. I don't bring my wallet with me to church. I don't bring my wallet with me everywhere, So I mean, the only problem we had at my dad's funeral was because certain family members wanted to be in the limo. Certain, like the first three cars in the limo, and it's like for immediate family. Some people were like, "Why didn't we get in a limo?" I'm like, really?
Yeah.
We're going to a grave site. We ain't going to the club, and you want to argue about being in a limo?
Yeah. Oh yeah, trust me, I understand. And that's why I said it's so important for all of us to really look at the choices of what you can and cannot afford. The funeral director, they will be the one to push all those additional accessories, like the limos, the cars, and all of that. Like for my brother-in-law's funeral, we only had one limo, and his girlfriend paid for that, and that was $500.
Yeah,
we did not request any additional cars. We didn't need any additional cars. Everybody had their own cars, and we just gonna go ahead and follow the hearse. Okay, because that would have been another $2,000 or something added.
Then you got to pay for the gas for the hearse now.
Child, every little thing that you have to pay for, like the person who did our funeral, he's a longtime friend of the family or what have you, and he did well in blessing us financially, but he did drop the cost and all of that. That's a blessing. But yet, even with that still being said, there still was some glitches that my husband was still not pleased with his work, with the business part of it. And that's why, I was so adamant about learning more about this business, this industry, and how, some funeral directors just are not honest. I'm not saying that he wasn't, but he was trying to just trying to, curve a little bit.
Yeah, cut corners. And we have to remember that, yes, you're going through a grieving process, but this is still a business for them, and they're not really Mavana says she does that for her church. Arranging the funeral session. That's good. That's really
good. Yeah. So definitely, you guys, make sure you do that. Please take the time out to learn more in depth about the whole process.
Yes, it is important.
It's important to learn more about the embalming. I know that's scary and eerie and all of that, but you have a choice. You don't have to pay for that if it's not necessary. Okay. It really, I'm just being honest.
Well, start with yourself, guys. Like, write out like how you want to be send off.
Exactly.
I guess, and start doing your own research, so that way people have sort of like an instructional guide, like, okay, if I pass away, this is what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to this home. I want you to contact this person. I want you to, I know like now it's like, for some of us it's further ahead, but at least, you could do some research or something like that.
Yeah. And also, please too, when you do that, make sure you have built a relationship with that funeral director, because when it comes to family, after you pass away, they may want to detour a little bit. Based on what you said you wanted to do. They'd be like, well, but she wasn't in her right mind. I think she would prefer this. No. Let that funeral director, be your voice. If that makes
and then he's gonna know, like, no, I talked to Brenda or whoever multiple times throughout the years, and this is what she wants. So it's like you're using that director sort of like a consulting or not even a mediator, but like a I don't know, a consultant to make sure that everything is done right. Because I'll be honest, I would rather not have the family involved in planning. I'd rather have somebody else take care of that, and then they just come and, you know, wish me off or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, just to avoid all the confusion and the chaos and stuff and family
Right.
members. Yeah, I totally understand. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is something, guys, that I had witnessed and experienced while, sitting there at the funeral twice, and
Mhm.
dealing with all of that stuff and everything. And my
Right.
husband already passed the stage of frustration and everything.
Right. He needs to rest.
Yeah, and he's a very particular man. He wants things done right, and I get it. I understand that, and he doesn't want nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing misplaced, or
Mhm.
anything.
I
So when
get
it
it.
came into the death certificate, it had to be the right date, birth year, all of that, not vice versa. So those are things that he was having issues with. That was just like an ABC 1, 2, 3 thing.
Right. And that is important because, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know if if your relative had any children, but even thinking of if they had children and we have to go to checking on his pension or something, those do matter, because when you put that paperwork in, if it's different from the hospital, and
yeah,
somebody even put AM instead of PM, it may
right.
delay some things, and you don't want to go through all that drama and
Exactly.
frustration. It may
Exactly.
seem
That's
like it's something minor, but when you may have that person in the insurance office that they're really like detailed, like, oh, no.
mm-hmm,
You say he passed away at 9:15. This says 9:16.
mm-hmm,
You may think, oh God, girl,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm,
they just may be
mm-hmm.
that tedious. You may have some
Yeah,
people that are like that.
absolutely. And it
Yeah.
can get you upset. I'm telling you,
Frustrate you to
it can
all
frustrate you
in.
because you already on pins and needles because you're trying to find this money because they're not
Right.
going to bury your loved one until they get that last cent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm letting y'all know that now.
They want
If
every
you owe
penny.
them 1,500, you better have it the day
Have it all
before.
the no checks either. We don't take checks either.
Okay, have it the day before. I'm telling you, because they're not going to bury them. They
They're
will keep
not.
them in the morgue or whatever they have them, or in the funeral home or whatever they got to do, but they're not going to bury your loved one the next day until that money is paid for.
Just right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. So this was a great show. Amazing conversation as always. We're going to be back on the 10th, right? Of
Yes.
July. Yeah,
Yes.
and let us know, guys, if y'all got any value out of this. Let us know in the comments what has been your main takeaway. And yeah, we're going to see you guys on the 10th. Twanta, I'm excited to be back. I know
Yeah.
you are as well. And we're going to kick this off. We had a really, really good show. So y'all have a great day. And as always, love on your sister.